It will likely be the last time this Arizona NHL franchise visits Edmonton. We get you set for the Oilers and the Coyotes on the Oil Stream pregame show right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Hello, everybody. Good evening. Tom Gazzola with you. YouTube Trev holding things down back at EST HQ as we get you set for the Oilers and the Coyotes. They play each other twice to wrap up the season, and next week on Wednesday, it will likely be the last game in Arizona Coyotes franchise history as they seem to be bound to be headed to Salt Lake City. So this is kind of a weird one, and I'll go into a little bit of how it was down at the rink today and how the mood and vibe around that locker room was. It's a very, very interesting scenario that's playing out right now with this team being on the road. And so it gives us plenty to talk about, and that we will do as we move through the show. Joaquin Gage will join us in a couple minutes here. Actually, Gager's standing by. He's on the broadcast tonight, looking dapper as always. And he's kind enough to lend a few minutes to the show. And then we'll also hear from Matt Kassian with Game Changers as always. And you can text us 780-218-9999 and the Nasty Chat. I've got my eyes on the Nasty Chat. Hit the thumbs up button on the way in. If you don't mind, we appreciate it. We're marching towards 8,000 subscribers. I'm very pleased and impressed with how quickly people are subscribing. And Dusty hit 600 likes, him and LTE on the morning show, which is absolutely insane and fantastic. And let's keep the good times going as we get set for the playoffs. Let's get him in here. Joaquin Gage from Two Guys and a Goalie, and you can catch him here on EST as well. What's up, Gager? Looking good as always, my friend. And you're getting set for the broadcast. You're so good. They need to get you back on a few more times before the end of the season, right?
I don't know. I think Struddy's out of town, actually. So I sent him out of town. He's somewhere up in Fort St. John doing something, trying to teach young kids how to bank it off the glass and out or whatever he does up there. But no, it's great to be with Gene, probably for the last time. So and my good buddy Bob Stauffer. I can't wait to see him as well. But and it's always great to come by your place too, Tommy.
Well,
it looks like an operating room in here, how clean it is. Very, very nice.
Well, it's my mom's birthday, and she would be very proud to hear that. And she's actually, both my parents are quite meticulous with tidiness, so I try to maintain. And they still, when they come by, they're like, "Oh, this is dirty. Why do you have this there?" And if you look over to your left, you'll notice an Italian couch that has one leg that's absolutely decimated. That is now deemed ready for the trash. It was a very expensive Italian couch at one time, but Belzy sat on it 2 weeks ago, and that thing is toast. So
in an alternate universe, I probably would have spent a lot of time here, Tommy. But who knows? We'll see what happens in the future.
Hey, when you do get down here, it's always great to have you, and thanks for popping by on the show, Gager. Appreciate it as always. So I talked about the Arizona Coyotes, and this is, a franchise that's kind of been in flux for such a long time. They have a 34-40-5 record this season. They're looking to mop up the year. Just a few games left. They get the Oilers twice. Edmonton, obviously, trying to continue its march towards what should be and is hoping to be a long postseason run. But it was weird. Like, you got the vibe down at the rink this morning around the Oilers business. Like, what's the McDavid situation? He came and spoke to us. And then you go down the hallway to the Coyotes locker room, and I would describe it as, from the staff at least, bewilderment, Gager.
Yeah.
And disappointment was a word that popped up a lot. And, on Wednesday, we go from hearing, the Coyotes might be on the move, to basically by the end of the day, Bill Daly coming out and saying, it's a tough situation and we're going to find what's right for the franchise. And that's a kiss of death, in my opinion, because Bill Daly usually says a lot of things that, like, he'll say something without actually saying anything. But that statement, the way he handled it, and the league coming out from that stance, and him being the deputy commissioner, pretty telling that this thing is as good as done. And then just sensing from people around the team today, they're like, yeah, we're rattled, and I don't know what to make of it, and I'm disappointed. I don't know if I'm going to move to Salt Lake, and those conversations were being had. How did you take all of this in this week, Gager?
Um, I think probably because my age, Tommy, the first thing that hit me was, of course, the people with the 1 degree of separation from the actual players themselves. So, coaches, training staff, things like that. They're they're most likely going to follow the team, like but it's all the other people involved, the front office staff. Like there's so many cogs of the wheel of a professional sports team that this is going to affect. And even to the point where, people in the front office, even if there is the opportunity to move to another city, this is affecting spouses. I think of little kids having to uproot themselves and go to a completely new place, new climate,
Yeah.
and have to reestablish friendships, new schools. This is a they're in the upside down right now,
Good
Tommy, and
descriptor.
I feel really bad for those people, because it kind of reminds me of when my career was winding down and my son was getting a little bit older, and he became essentially more aware. And the first couple weeks of being in a new place, he was so upset because he wanted to either see his grandma, or his grandpa, and then coming back, oh, I want to go back to my yellow house that was in Italy. So it's a very tough time for that whole organization. I It upsets me a little bit in that regard, but hey, it's time to move on. You talked about it today on the oil stream. They've had ample opportunity to make this thing a viable sports franchise, and let's face it, it just hasn't happened yet.
No, it absolutely hasn't. And it's been there for 25 plus years. I'm going to get to this text from John of St. Albert. Says, thoughts on the Coyotes moving to Utah and the players refusing to accept the team might be moving. Apparently, an announcement is coming on the 18th. And Gager, like Salt Lake City, did you play there in the minors? Did you get a chance to? Because I know they've had a decent minor hockey history, and I was reading the Athletic article about that. Ian Mendez wrote it, and he said that there's a pretty strong hockey history. So I don't know if in your travels and in your time you did get a chance to play in Salt Lake, and then on top of that, whenever you played there, whether it was your first stint with the Oil, oh no, it would have been your second stint with the Oilers because they were still the Jets in your first stint. When you got down there, what did you make of that market?
Well, it's actually shocking that that's one of the places I never got to venture to, Tommy, in all
Oh,
my Gulliver's travels. But I played with guys that had either played there, and I found that there was a few guys that I played with or against that actually live there currently. They liked the city. They liked the whole environment there. So there is, and this is I'm going back decades here, Tommy, too. So this is obviously a place where it was enjoyable to play and good enough to where, what, this is where we want to hang our hats at the end of the day as well. So they're going to a good spot. I think there's already that built in. Let's face it, in most markets in the US, that hockey is kind of a cult following.
yeah.
But to now have a NHL team where you have marquee players coming in, and maybe, they have heard of these guys before, seen them on highlights, but now the actual chance to maybe go watch them live in person. Yeah, it's an exciting time for that city. I think for sure, to finally have something that they've probably been, only watched if they were in another market and been able to watch a game, but actually have it at home now. That's exciting.
It's interesting with these markets, like we saw with Vegas. Obviously, has definitely dug in, and the roots are starting to grow, and now the fruits of that labor are starting to sprout with the Stanley Cup, and people understand the game better in Las Vegas, even though they had a pretty rich minor hockey history or minor pro hockey history, and then. Seattle's been a fantastic market, and we know, the Metropolitans in the early 1900s, that's so far removed, but they do have that history. And then with the Thunderbirds and the Silvertips around there, and even the Winterhawks, Gager, you played for the Winterhawks. So being in the Northwest, you thought to yourself, well, Seattle should work, and they have Vancouver close by as well. And it is working, but Salt Lake City's kind of in the Midwest, a little bit kind of around Colorado, but not really, on your way to Nevada and even Arizona, but not really, so it's kind of in this no man's land and a little bit isolated. But who knows? They have an owner there. He's not much older than me, Gager. He's kind of in between you and I. I think he's 45. And he grew up in the same era I did, where it was Wayne Gretzky with the Kings and the Mighty Ducks on in the theaters, and you'd have the VHSs, and he played roller hockey and then some actual hockey. And now he's a billionaire with a tech company. He owns the Utah Jazz, and they're on the cusp of building a brand new arena and talking about another Olympics in Salt Lake City. So there's all this momentum there that it could work kind of the same way it did in Seattle and Las Vegas. So it's really interesting. Now, on the ice, Gager, only a handful of games left. How do you think these guys are handling the last week and a half of existence as Coyotes?
God, that's a tough question to answer, Tommy. That's again, their whole world's upside down here, and the people with families, are they looking, depending on contract situations, where am I going to be? Like, do I need to start putting my house up for sale if they've purchased property? There's just so many of those things that you don't really think about. And look, I know these guys are compensated quite well for what they do, but
Yeah.
I don't care how much money you make when you have to uproot your whole family and move to a different spot to work. It's stressful. And they probably went from a team that, a few weeks ago that were, okay, this is the end of the season. Maybe some of them get world championship at some point, like the the like this is last off for the Phoenix, which is, I'm sure there'll be some tears shed over the next
Yeah.
few weeks as a whole different chapter for a lot of guys. Hockey careers are going to change now.
780-218-9999. And yeah, it's a really strange time, like Gager was alluding to. But I think, the inevitable is finally happening, and we'll see the Arizona Coyotes for the final time at Rogers Place tonight. All right, this one comes in from Corey B. A text says, "Hey, Tommy, everybody, black and white cat named Bean escaped my place, Lago Lindo, Clairvaughton area. Be on the lookout." Corey B. looking for his cat. AJ and Speedy Creek. Oh, I like this. Live from an undisclosed location in southern Saskatchewan. He's watching on the big screen. He's got a 6 o'clocker lager ready to rock and roll. Gager, 6 o'clocker lager beginning on the 18th, $12.99 for a 4-pack at Sobeys and Safeway liquor stores. How good is that deal?
Fantastic, especially when you got the sun coming out, guns are coming out, Tommy. The tall boys, icy chilled in a nice cooler on the deck. You guys talk about it's a really good beer. That's the bottom line. It's easy drinking. It's a summer beer. I can't wait till the EST crew can all get together and crush a few on maybe a baseball game this summer. That would be awesome.
Section I gang, man, we're ready to go, and you're going to be a part of it, I sure hope. It should be good. All right, let's focus the attention to the Oilers. Tom Gazzola, Joaquin Gage, YouTube Trev with you here on the Oil Stream pregame show on EST. If you're watching, get into the nasty chat. If you're listening, 780-218-9999. All right, Gager, McDavid told us probably not, that he's not going to play tonight. They handled things just fine against the Vegas Golden Knights without him. What were some of the things that you really liked and were encouraged by from the Oilers against Vegas, in a game that I thought Edmonton was quite thorough and Vegas really didn't show up, for a lack of a better term?
The seamlessness of putting lines together and having success, I think. And when the way that they handled their business without the best player on the planet, they played really well, Tommy. That was a and granted, and I think Luke Gazdic said it. It's he mentioned the players that weren't in the lineup for the Vegas Golden Knights, and he kind of compared them to a few of the players. If they were out of the Oilers lineup, it's a different team. So
Yeah.
we have to look at that. But saying that, there was a lot of guys that were on that Stanley Cup run that made a difference, and the Oilers thoroughly handled their business that game. And I liked the insertion of Holloway. Matthias Ekholm is just becoming a number one defenseman in my mind with what he's been able to accomplish this year. It's nice to see that a team can come together at a sign of adversity going up against a very, very good hockey team. That's kind of what I took from that game, although we're not seeing the full Las Vegas Knights. But
Right.
I was impressed. I was impressed the way, I guess, just business as usual for them. There wasn't any change. Like they didn't look out of place, even to the point where that power play that's it wasn't the one that we saw last year, but still clicking at around 27%. There was still they looked like a real cohesive unit as well. So a lot of encouraging things with Connor McDavid out of the lineup.
How shocked were you to hear Mark Stone is going to be skating starting today?
None at all. We all knew that was going to happen. They are going to be fully healthy by the time the playoffs roll around. Thing is, these guys do have to get up to speed, and that's jumping on a treadmill at probably 15 miles an hour going up against the Dallas Stars.
Yeah.
And you got to look at how the Vegas Golden Knights, they're going to have to get up to speed really quickly. And it's hard coming back from injuries and all these other things. They're going to have their hands full. That's going to be a very interesting series to watch, Tommy.
Todd in Bonnyville says, imagine Shane Doan, first season Winnipeg to Phoenix. Now Josh Doan from Yotes to the Utes or Salt Lake Spirit, a weird twist of fate. Todd in Bonnyville with that one. And then John of St. Albert says, question for Joaquin. Don't you think Leon Draisaitl will re-sign with the Oilers? That's from John in St. Albert.
John in St. Albert. We don't have to worry about that. Let's keep our eyes on the prize this year for Leon Draisaitl. I think a lot depends on how this playoffs goes, and that goes into his decision whether to stay around or look for greener pastures. So we'll have lots of time to talk about that. I don't even really want to. Selfishly, I don't really want to get into it, John. So we'll wait till the summer. Let's just see what Leon can do with that line again tonight. I liked what I saw last game. Let's see if he can repeat that type of performance.
All right. Joaquin Gage with us as he gets set for the broadcast tonight, like he said, with Gene Principe and his dear friend Bob Stauffer. Catch him on the intermissions. It's going to be great. He's looking good. He's ready to rock and roll. Gager, if you're the Oilers tonight, what's the mantra? What's the game plan? What are you trying to accomplish against a Coyotes team that played good in Vancouver, picked up a win? And I don't know, do you think the Coyotes, with everything that's going on, are using this as fuel to their fire at all, or can they?
Yeah, and you always get guys auditioning for the next year too, so it's kind of a very early training camp. Oilers have to make sure there's no mistakes is the wrong word. Just maybe bad habits. Don't let the bad habits start creeping in. And I don't think that's a sign of a mature team. I've been echoing this for a long time. They look way more mature than they've had in years to me. How they responded after the Dallas game was exactly what you want to see from a team that's considered to be a Stanley Cup contender. Tonight's going to be a little bit different. It's kind of a rallying point too. You don't have your best player in the lineup. You have the Vancouver Canucks tomorrow night. That could be a very, very important game to finish first in the Pacific. This is another character eye opener for me to see how they perform. Do they play the same way they did against the Vegas Golden Knights? And let's face it, if they do that, this should be kind of the same result with when you look over at that Coyotes team. But they're feisty, and if you don't bring that type of effort against a team that's got nothing to lose, you risk maybe being embarrassed in your home building. I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I do think that this is going to be a better game than what we might have thought it would be a couple weeks ago, Tommy.
Fair point. We get to see the Coyotes 2 more times before the season is up. Gager, thanks for stopping by and sharing your thoughts as we go into this game. Looking forward to seeing you on the broadcast, and maybe I'll come and join you guys and hang out with our dear friend Bob for maybe one intermission and just kind of maybe breathe
Perfect.
right in his ear.
He loves that.
I know.
Sweet nothings, Tommy. He loves the sweet nothing.
Like old times. Gager, thanks, and looking forward to seeing you on the show tonight.
Awesome, buddy. Later.
That is Joaquin Gage joining us as we get set for the Oilers and Coyotes. Catch Gager on the broadcast tonight. 7:08 puck drop. Edmonton 48-24-5. Arizona 34-40-5. It is game number 78 for the Edmonton Oilers. I'll throw the question of the night out there. Just gauge your thoughts, for lack of a better term, as we go into this one. What do you make of the Coyotes situation and the likely move to Salt Lake City? Disappointment. I know there's a lot of people from Alberta that go down to Arizona, have property there, like to vacation there, enjoy going to Coyotes games. Every Oilers game down in the desert is very well attended by Oiler fans. It's because they travel really well. I've always said that. It's a fact. But what do you make of the Coyotes situation and a likely move to Salt Lake City? Let us know your thoughts. 780-218-9999. And then, of course, if you're watching via the Nasty Chat, let's bring in YouTube Trev, see how he's doing, get his thoughts on the question of the night. Hello, YouTube Trev. Look at you. You're all ready to go. You're excited about tomorrow, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm very excited, Tommy. It's going to be awesome. I've been thinking about it all week, but it's going to be cool. Something I talked about it at length on the post-game show. It's something I've always dreamt of. So it's going to be awesome, and I'm going to go shopping tomorrow. Get a nice suit. I'm thinking
you're getting a suit.
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll see what I'm feeling. I'll try on a few things, and we'll go from there. But yeah, it's gonna be awesome. I cannot wait. As for tonight's game, Tommy, I'm pumped. It's gonna be it's another good game. Like, one thing the Oilers can't do is they can't take this team lightly. The Arizona Coyotes, they stopped the Nashville Predators. The streak that they had with 1 point. It was impressive. They beat them 8-4. They came back in the third period to just destroy the Golden Knights. And then you saw what they were able to do against the Canucks the other day. So I feel like a lot of teams take this Arizona Coyotes team lightly. You can't really do that, and there is a lot to like about this team roster wise. Looking at some of the players, I think this team just thinking about it, like growing up watching this Coyotes team, it was always kind of boring hockey in my opinion. They never really had like crazy stars. You had Shane Doan, but even when he was in his prime, like he was kind of a lesser star, and he didn't really have anything to work with. But you got Clayton Keller, who's a stud. Logan Cooley and Dylan Guenther, he got his first career 4-point game the other night. So there's a lot of players to like on this team, and I think the future is bright roster-wise. As for your question of the game, or question of the night, honestly, I was thinking you were going to, I was prepping, I was like, oh, Tommy's probably going to be like, oh, what's your favorite Oilers-Coyotes memory? And I was just trying to think.
There aren't any.
And I was just like, I don't know. Like, there's nothing. I was like thinking, I'm like, well, what has this team done, like, as far as the playoffs where they went to the conference finals? What was that in 14-15?
2012.
Or yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
as far as that, Tommy, like it's just been such a crap show for so long. I thought Gager brought up a good point. It does suck, families are involved. This isn't, like it's going to affect a lot of people's lives, and so that aspect is definitely unfortunate. But as far as like the team, like it's just been such a gong show for so long. Kind of an embarrassing look. I'm ready for this to happen. As far as I'm concerned, I have no connection with this Coyotes team aside from their awesome jerseys. They have some really good jerseys. I like the Kachina.
Yeah.
I'm happy they brought that back. That's probably the one thing I will say that I do like most about this team. But aside from that, Tommy, that's kind of all I got. But yeah, you can't take this Arizona Coyotes team lightly. I feel like a lot of teams have, and they don't want to, who knows? Like they got a lot to play for, right? This could be the last team's like games, right? So they're going to be like, okay, let's give this, everyone something to remember. And I think that's what they're going to be pushing in the last few games here, last few weeks.
The Coyotes, meanwhile, have won 3 of their last 4 games. They did beat the Vancouver Canucks 4-3 in OT. Prior to that, they lost 5-0 at Seattle. They started off this 5-game road trip through the Pacific Division with a win in San Jose. And the game before that, they actually beat the Golden Knights 7-4. So kind of playing up the string, like Gager said, too, guys playing for contracts next season, so some desperation, and the Oilers shouldn't take them lightly. And now this whole moving to Salt Lake City might add some fuel to their fire in regard to playing out the string as best as possible. We will hear from the Coyotes. Andre Tourigny spoke today, as well as Lawson Krause and Clayton Keller. We'll get to that shortly. This text comes in and says, Coyotes moving is long past due. Yeah, they... you know what, Trev? I remember talking to some Coyotes players. This was like 2012 or 2013, the year of that run to the conference final, or maybe just after. And they're like, yeah, we don't know if we're going to be here next year. Like nobody is certain. And that was with the prior owner. It was not good. So it looks like it's finally happening, and we'll await the NHL making an announcement, as we could be talking about a Salt Lake City team within a few days joining the National Hockey League. Question of the night one more time. What do you make of the Coyotes situation and a likely move to Salt Lake City? 780-218-9999, and then nasty chat. Nash Osborne says, will the new team have to wear holy undergarments? No, I know. Vats Vadervad says, residents of St. George City rebel by galloping out to a wooded glen to punch, dance out their rage. Okay. And Vance Van Vandervan also says, in St. George, public dances are only allowed with approval from city council. I hope you're joking, Vance Van Vandervan. I don't think that's true. St. George is beautiful, by the way. If you've never seen the Red Rocks in St. George, it's just the scenic backdrop, and the golf there is supposedly phenomenal. I haven't golfed there, but I would like to. Nash also says, where's your suit? YouTube Trev looks like he's ready to go for tomorrow, and he will be working media tomorrow night in the press box. So very excited to show him the ropes as we bring our young producer, YouTube Trev, to work his first Oilers game tomorrow night against the Vancouver Canucks. All right. You know what we're going to do? We're going to go inside the Oilers locker room. Let's go to Connor McDavid first, Trev. I think let's take care of this order of business and hear from the Oilers captain, as he did skate again today. He looked pretty good out there, but I'm going to let him tell us and our audience where he's at right now. So let's go to Connor McDavid.
I feel good. I feel good. Probably won't go tonight, but I'm feeling good.
The 5 and 7, the back-to-back, how much does that play into it? Or if you guys weren't even playing until Sunday, would tonight not be an option?
What was the math there?
5 games in 7 days.
Okay.
The back-to-back. Does that come into it, or is this just more all about you two?
Just want to feel. I want to feel good. I want to feel at my best, and that's not the case tonight.
We know that rest isn't something that you generally look for each year. It's about being healthy. Is it always hard to make maybe a big picture decision versus in the moment wanting to help out?
I never want to miss games. I really don't. It's frustrating. At the end of the day, we're after bigger things here. And being healthy, everyone being healthy is priority number one.
Does it make it a bit easier when you watch your team play as well as you did 2 nights ago?
Yeah, it was great. I thought they played really, really, really well. Solid, in control the whole night. There was no stressful moments, so it was great.
You've been on the bench for all of it, but the biggest improvement for your team has really been your defensive play 5-on-5. Right? Like I think you're second best in the NHL for quite a stretch here. From even watching upstairs, what do you see that's been the biggest improvement defensively 5-on-5?
Well, I think we're just really aware of it. I think everybody talks about playing defense, but our room, it's all we really talk about. We want to be a tight checking team. We want to play that simple game. Obviously, we got the players to open it up if we have to, and play that offensive game. We can do both, but. I think the biggest thing for our group is just awareness, just, being focused for the full 40 minutes, into the details, little things, all the cliche things, but that's what defending is. It's awareness, it's focus, it's being dialed in, and our group was that for the full game the other night.
Connor, this injury, is this something that was nagging you or something that you picked up at the
That's a good question. Probably a little bit of both.
Confident that you'll be able to get past it and not carry it into the playoffs?
Yeah, extremely confident. Extremely confident that it'll turn the corner quick and be ready to roll.
Are you, like, day to day, do you think, like, tomorrow's a possibility at all, or is that still too soon?
Yeah, we'll see. We've really been taking it day at a time. We've been making decisions day to day, and we'll cross that bridge tomorrow.
Do you, if getting your team ready to be playing its best hockey when the playoffs begin, that seems to always be the goal. Getting your line set, getting your game set. Where do you think your team is with 5 games left?
I really like where we're at. I thought, I think we've played some really good hockey the past 3 games. Since our slip up there in Dallas, I feel like, our game's been really good. It's been, where it needs to be. With that being said, our group, there's always going to be, line tinkering, and there's always going to be that type of thing going on. So, having set lines for our group has never really been the case, and especially now that, since adding, Sammy and Rico, we got depth and we got a lot of different combinations we can use, and I'm sure you'll see lots of different combinations along the way.
It's a bit of a unique stretch, Guy, because you have 6 games in the last 9 days, so you can't hit the gas the whole way because you have to conserve a little bit for the playoffs, but you want to maintain your momentum. So how do you kind of strike?
Yeah, we still got lots to play for coming on the stretch. We keep saying that. There's seeding, there's positioning, there's all those types of things, all while maintaining, a healthy group. I'm not really a big believer in resting guys. With that being said, 6 games in 9 days is a lot. So, if we rest guys, that's just the circumstances we're in. But, I think you want to be, pedal to the metal, foot on the gas, all the way to the end and into that game 1.
To what extent are you looking at possible opponents? Because there's sort of 2, 3 in that mix right now that you might be facing.
Well, there's lots of different possibilities, lots of different outcomes. We're just trying to make sure that our game is where it needs to be, and that's our main focus.
All right, there's Connor McDavid speaking to the media earlier today, and so he says he's probably a no-go for tonight as he continues to rest that lower body injury, and we'll see if he's good to go for the against the Canucks tomorrow. For tomorrow, though, in the morning, it's likely the Oilers will be optional, and they'll probably hold an availability. We'll likely hear from Chris Knobloch and have a better idea if McDavid is closer to going or not. I'm guessing that he is held out for that one as well. All right, text us 780-218-9999 as we roll along, and then the nasty chat continue to do its thing as it always tends to. Big Uke texts in, says, I love a Friday night game with a cold brew If the Oil come out with the same gumption as they did against the Vegas Golden Knights, then this game is over in the first period. Can't take the Yotes lightly. They did just put up 6 in a period against Vegas, so they can roll if allowed. Also, cold beer, hot bets, good performance makes for a great Friday, plus a great pre and post, of course. Big U, appreciate you, and couldn't agree more. Let's welcome in our game analyst, and he's ready to go, Matt Kassian, at his home studios as we get set for the Oilers and the Coyotes. I like this group chat that we have, and I like what you guys are sending each other. It's very funny, Cass. I will not say what you guys are texting to each other.
It's pretty inappropriate, so
yeah,
we keep it in there. It's not
Yeah.
not for the nasty chat, although I do appreciate the nasty chat, and I love you guys and gals that listen in and chime in all the time. It is great. It looks like it's buzzing pretty good, which is a good thing.
Pretty good.
And hopefully it's buzzing as good as the Edmonton Oilers buzz against the Utah Mountaineers tonight.
Not quite the Utah Mountaineers yet, but maybe by next week they could be. Cass, so let's start with the question of the night. What do you make of the Coyotes situation and a likely move to Salt Lake City?
Yeah, well, there's a couple parts to this. First, I think as an organizational standpoint, it makes sense. You can't keep playing at Mullet Arena. You don't have a deal. You can't have an NHL team playing in that rink for the next 3 or 4 years. You can't do it.
No.
So even if it was a temporary move for 3 or 4 years, well, the city gets another expansion franchise going. If it were Salt Lake or if it were Houston, something needed to happen, and so I'm happy that something is happening. Now, the flip side to that is the very human side to that, and that there's a lot of people whose livelihoods are in Arizona who have worked for the team or are working for the team. From staff at the rink to people inside the organization to people not necessarily in hockey ops that might pack up and move, but people that would have a more difficult decision to have to go through that, where their livelihoods are affected. And that's challenging. And that's the hard part of it, especially with it happening as fast as it is. It's not like you all of a sudden have a really long time to prepare or to look at transition plans and build that out. So there's a human element to me where it's just like, yeah, that really sucks for a lot of people. It's really hard. And the flip side from an organizational standpoint is, I think without a rink, you have to at some point get out of there until you have one. Now, I mean, ideally, and I still go back to this, even with them playing in Mullen, I'm like, ideally they would have moved to Houston for 3 or 4 years and then moved back up. Back now, not necessarily a way to build a fan base in another city like Houston, but knowing that they're only going to be there for a few years in a long-term season ticket holder base, but maybe with the thought that you'd grant at the end of that Houston an expansion franchise when they move back. There could have been ways to do it, but with the money on the table, it may have been forced a little bit here, and I'm hoping, Tommy, that it's ultimately good for the organization if they go to Salt Lake, where it can be viable and healthy, and have a great fan base and just develop a hockey market there. And I am hopeful that they would be able to at some point get a deal done to build the rink and to bring a franchise back to Arizona. I've always said I think it works in Arizona. It just, the rink has to be in the right spot, and it hasn't been. And you combine that with the lack of success the team has had recently, you're in a tough spot as a franchise, and you need to go somewhere.
Yeah. Okay. There's a lot there, and I'll say this: they have not. You're right. They have not played in the right spot. You did training camp with the Coyotes in 16-17, so the setup in Glendale is not ideal. Most of the fan base is in the northeast portion of the city, east portion. They're in Tempe, which is kind of southeast, but Scottsdale-ish. That's why it worked better downtown, even though the facility that they were using, where the Suns currently play, was not a hockey rink. And Cass, you played in San Antonio. You played in arenas that Seattle was like that too before they renovated.
The old Seattle barn, Key Arena.
Yeah, Brooklyn was like that when the Islanders were there. Those are not conducive to hockey facilities at all.
Well, when you lose a hole because it's set up for basketball, you lose basically a quarter or a half almost of your lower bowl.
Yeah,
it's pretty tough. And then your people that are at the lower part of the top bowl, you kind of lose that too, because now you're basically overhanging the net almost. So it's really tough to see in zone. So it makes it really challenging. Now, again, is a stopgap solution. It can function if you're going to get another rink where it's like, okay, we're going to have to deal with this for 2 or 3 years, and then we're going to be out to a new building that's set up for hockey, and it's perfect. So there's just, the downtown rink there in Arizona, in Phoenix, just isn't set up well for hockey long term.
No.
And again, the idea of building a rink out way out there where all the other sports facilities are, it kind of sounds nice in your head a little bit till you realize that, it's not driving out there once a week for tailgating for the entire day on a Sunday. Like you're going out there 41 times, and that's a lot for people. And for season ticket holders, you just can't. It's a lot. Like young people, if they're wanting to go and have a few libations and let their hair down, as it were, you can't, because it's like, well, you can have a 40-minute Uber back home and a 40-minute Uber there. Or if you drive there and you end up having to Uber home, well, now how are you getting your car in the morning? Like it creates a situation that's not long-term tenable. And it's kind of similar to Ottawa's situation in that it's tougher to have season ticket holders and to sell out every game if you're just out of the way. Like, you want to be central, you want to be in a location that's easy to get to, and just look at how great it has been. And it really has. Not that old Rexall was out of the way, but having the rink downtown in Edmonton makes a huge difference. So it would for that organization too. Again, I hope that at some point they get a building either in Scottsdale or Tempe or somewhere in that area, and they're able to make it work, because I do think hockey could work in Arizona and in Phoenix. It just can't with where they're at right now.
Man, Glendale Arena, like the Gila River, jobbing.com, whatever the hell they called it. Great arena. Straight up, great arena, I thought. But like you said, location was terrible.
It's just too far away.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good building to watch hockey in. Like there's nothing wrong with the building in and of itself. It's not a brand new building, but like it was well designed, well thought out, but it's just too far away.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. But that concept, and it has been discussed, like they might put a expansion franchise in Phoenix again in a few years, still baffles me. And I feel like that's a bit of a red herring, but time will tell. We shall see. And it's interesting in baseball, too. We're watching the plight of the Oakland Athletics, and now they're moving to Sacramento cast for a couple of years while the ballpark's being built in Vegas on the Strip. They're going to tear down the Tropicana and put the ballpark there. It looks like kind of like the Sydney Opera House, and it looks really cool. But there's people in Vegas that are saying, just stay in Sacramento. We don't really care if you come here, which is incredible. So it's a weird time for floundering franchises in major sports in North America.
There's not anywhere, Tommy. The reason it's hard is because there's not anywhere where teams are not now established.
Right.
And you think for Vegas, one of the things that the NHL did well was first to market, right? Like you were the first major sports team in that market. And because of that, you just got such a foothold. And then they did a lot of things well and had a lot of success early, and now have won a Stanley Cup early, where that's just like they've turned it into a hockey city. And so even for baseball, and people love baseball in the States, it's like you're not the new, like it's just not as enticing as being the first one into a new city. But the thing with Utah is you don't have I think there's space in Salt Lake City for an NHL team. Like I think you have enough people, and there's not enough major professional sports there that you could build a fan base, and it's still early enough where it could be successful.
We'll see how it works in Salt Lake City, and we await that announcement. 780-218-9999. Nasty chat's getting funny. Vance Van Vandervan is absolutely all over it, and there's some in there. I'm not even gonna. Dr. Gonzo. Maybe avoid discussing that. That would be appreciated, as there could be kids watching and listening as we continue on here. All right, Cass is ready to go. We went over the Coyotes thing. This is something that'll be top of mind for every hockey fan in North America, because it's major, where the franchise is on the cusp of moving to a new city. And, the Coyotes here, and I'll say this one more time, the staff, everyone around the team today, my vibe when I kind of tried to read the room around them today was disappointment, disheartened. and it's setting in that it's become very, very real. So last time the Coyotes will be here as a team from the Arizona city or state, and then the Phoenix area, and then we'll see, like Cass said, maybe they get a franchise via expansion in a couple of years, which to me just sounds insane. But there's NHL people saying, well, they might get another team. So we'll see in time. Okay, let's get to Game Changers. Brought to you as always by Damon Bunting, Remax Elite. Damon Bunting, consistent top producing realtor in Greater Edmonton and among Western Canadian Remax realtors. He and his team would love to help you find that right home or make the move from your current home. Community driven. Damon understands what it takes to make a difference in our city. Check him out, DamonBunting.com, or visit his Instagram at Damon Bunting Real Estate. Cass, Oilers Coyotes tonight. We were just talking about it, but the Salt Lake Blues.
Yeah, I mean, you just mentioned it, Tommy. How can you not have that affect you, both as a, not just the staff on the team, but as a player as well, where it's like now there's all of a sudden uncertainty, and it's something that, as an NHL player, you deal with all the time. Like, you never know if you're going to get traded. You never know if you're going to get sent down. You never know. Like, there's a lot of uncertainty. Now, there's a lot of no move clauses, no trade clauses, that sort of thing. But all of a sudden, you're faced with this potential uplifting and uprooting of your life and having to move, for guys that have houses, for guys that have bought places, for guys that have been like, oh, I'm going to be here long term. Well, now all of a sudden, you could be somewhere completely different, and I think that wears on you emotionally, and even just the questions, because now it's like every city you go to, the questions aren't about how you're playing, what are the plans for next season, what's the team going to be doing. It's like, well, how are you thinking about this potential Salt Lake thing, and what does that look like, and what's that going to do to you, and what does the future look like? And it just creates, I think, a little bit of a different atmosphere even among the team, because how can you not as players be talking about this and be thinking about it, and it's just, I think, a factor. It's a distraction. It's and rightfully so. It's a distraction. I mean, again, it's a big part of your life. It's like, it's difficult at the best of times to play in the NHL, let alone, now you throw this big wrench into it. So the reason, Tommy, that this is game changer number one is this is weighing heavily on you, and you're at the end of the season. You're not going to be in the playoffs. They do have some young guys that maybe haven't gone through an organizational transition before, one team traded to another team, and it is going to be weighing on you. You're going to be thinking about it. It's going to have an impact, and mentally, I don't know if they're going to be all there. They might not be. Now, on the Edmonton side, you have to be still prepared, because maybe it doesn't affect them, or they maybe come out and just try to make the absolute best of the situation for each of them. But Tommy, it's a distraction. And so I think it factors into the game, and it factors into mentally where this Arizona group is right now. So it's game changer number one.
Rightly so. The Salt Lake Blues. All right, number two on Game Changers tonight, Stetcher Stretcher. Say that 3 times in a row.
Yeah,
really
say fast. It fast. Cody Ceci, little banged up. So all the people that are clamoring for him out of the lineup and wanting Stetcher in, you're going to get him in tonight. Now, probably ideal. Not that Cody Ceci's banged up, but ideal that you're giving a player that you might need in the playoffs an opportunity to get back into the lineup. And, you want to see that consistent game from Troy Stetcher tonight. You want to see him just making the simple plays. He's not an overly physical guy. He's a smaller guy, but you want to see him transport the puck, move the puck, be efficient with his passes and his first passes. And Tommy, just make no mistakes. That's what you want to see from Troy Stetcher tonight. But it does factor in. He's gonna play. He's gonna have an opportunity. He's going to, he's not going to play 25 minutes, but he's going to play, and he's going to play with Darnell Nurse. And so an opportunity for Troy Stetcher to step in here and to show some consistency, to show that he can be out of the lineup for a little bit, step in and be a valuable player that can play with, again, just that consistency in his hockey game. So a big night for him. And, playing with Darnell Nurse, you have to be aware. You have to be making right reads. You have to anticipate well. And let's look for that from Troy Stetcher tonight.
I'm going to add to Stetcher Stretcher, and I'll get Holloway into there. I was going to try to do alliteration, but couldn't think of it quick enough. Anyway, Holloway and his play the other night had a lot of people salivating over the possibility of him maybe staying in the lineup. He's going to get another chance tonight. Carrick's banged up. McDavid's banged up. You mentioned CC being banged up on the back end. That gives Stetcher the opportunity. But Holloway had a good night among many versus the Golden Knights. He gets that goal, takes advantage, does some good work to be rewarded, which is something that you want your players to all be focused on, is the hard work and the process being right. But Cass, there are some that are like, oh, he's got to stay in the lineup. Now he's better than, Janmark or Ryan or Carrick. I understand that enthusiasm. I like Dylan Holloway very much. I am enticed by what he might be able to bring, and to see him have success right now is great. But I still don't think he is going to be an everyday guy for the rest of the year and into the playoffs.
No.
Why do you think I would have that rationale? Because I feel like you probably have the same understanding.
Same understanding, and I agree with you completely. Now he might stay in the lineup up until playoffs, depending on the health of everybody. Depending on the health, when does Connor McDavid come back? And are other guys banged up that need a couple extra days to rest and physically get where they need to be? Tom, you're not taking out a centerman for him. Right? Like you're probably not taking out Carrick or Ryan for Dylan Holloway at this point to run a line. You're not taking out Janmark to have Dylan Holloway kill penalties. Now in the future, and looking forward to next season, do you want Dylan Holloway killing penalties all year? Absolutely, you do.
Yep.
Does he have the toolkit? Speed wise to be able to do it and to be a valuable part of that? Yeah, he does, but he hasn't done it all year. You're not going to ask him to start to do it now and into the playoffs, and you're not taking those other guys out of the lineup. Now, what Dylan Holloway playing so well, and if he can keep that train rolling beyond just that initial I'm back, I'm here, I'm in the NHL adrenaline, which he would have had, the excitement and enthusiasm that game, he needs to carry it over. And if he can keep carrying it over, it puts the team in a good spot, because then you do have options in the playoffs. If someone is hurt, if one of the bottom six guys, let's say Janmark blocks a shot and foot swells up and he is like at 80%. Well, now you're looking at, okay, Janmark at 80% versus Holloway at 100 becomes an easier decision, because Holloway has proven that, yes, you can put him in and he's going to be okay. He's going to be able to contribute and he's going to be valuable to you. But Tommy, he hasn't, and even after one game, he hasn't done enough at the NHL level to separate himself so much from Matthias Janmark that he's going to step in. And again, you're not putting him in that center position. You're not having Holloway play on the right wing. You're not asking him to play off in his off wing. You're not going to do that at this point in his career. So I get that there's enthusiasm, and I love that there's enthusiasm, because we want young players to step in and to play well, and he has. But he's not at the point on the roster in terms of the way he plays the game that he is irreplaceable, and that he is more than that he is at a point where he is clear cut, giving you an advantage over top of one of those other guys, primarily because of the penalty kill. Now, if he just goes on a run here and he scores a goal every single game, and that line is just absolutely crushing it, well, yeah, you're giving the organization something to think about. And is there a chance? Of course there's a chance that if you do that, you start in the playoffs. But I would lean very much strongly towards the, probably not. He's going to get a good little opportunity here, and he's going to be asked to be ready to go. So you're going to be ready to go, because at some point in the playoffs, someone's getting banged up. At some point in the playoffs, we're going to need you, and we're going to need you ready, and we're going to need you playing like you did down the stretch run of the last couple of games of the season.
Joel says, don't jinx him. I'm not jinxing him. We're just being straightforward and honest. We're discussing the possibilities and how it could play out. And so I know a lot of people are excited about him, and we are too. So no jinxes, Joel. All good vibes. And Penner's Pancake says Holloway is Fogel's replacement next year. We'll see what happens.
It might be. He might be. Like, that's a legitimate thought where it's like, well, yeah, he could be. He definitely could be.
Yeah, that's a possibility. But that's next year, and we're getting set for what should be a fun playoff run here in Edmonton. One more here from Penner's Pancakes, who adds, Oilers have no quote-unquote tweeners now. Legit NHLers are scratched every game now, and I can't remember if that has happened before. Last season, I think that they had a pretty good deep roster where it was somewhat similar. But yeah, that is a completely valid observation, and I'd say it's 100% true. And good teams have that scenario when they go into the postseason. So yeah, Penner's Pancakes kind of hitting it on the head there for sure. All right, it is Game Changers, brought to you as always by Damon Bunting, Remax Elite, Tom Gazzola, Matt Kassian with you. YouTube Trev holding things down back at ESTHQ. Number 1 was Salt Lake Blues. Number 2 was Stetcher Stretcher. And then I extended it into a little bit of a take on Dylan Holloway. And then number 3, Cass, looking at the Arizona Coyotes, soon to be Salt Lake City, whatever's Donor.
Yeah, Shane Doan or Josh Doan, sorry. Josh Doan comes in. It's always good to have stories of young players, generational players where you got to watch relatives play in the NHL for a long time, and one of the good guys, part of just a wonderful family generationally. Going back, I've had the opportunity to be at Circle Square Ranch with the Doan family out in what feels like the sticks, more down south in Alberta. Shane Doan, obviously just a tremendous reputation and a tremendous individual. And it's just kind of fun to see. I mean, I love that Josh Doan got a call up, and I love the success he's had immediately in 8 games played, 3 goals, 3 assists. He's managed to contribute and to be a part of it. And pretty fun, again, to see just young players coming up, and for an Arizona team that may not be in Arizona very much longer, it's just a cool story to me. So I love that Josh Doan has stepped in and had a little bit of an immediate impact here in Arizona. And obviously it's a situation where it's like, I kind of hope he gets a hat trick tonight and the Oilers win 8-3. Like, that would be great. Let him score a couple. The Oilers can dominate the rest of the game, and I'd be happy. But it is good to see young players step in and have success, and then a player that looks like potentially some offensive chops, as do some of the other young Arizona Coyotes. I mean, this is a squad that is quite young. Has some young players that are developing and turning into good players that we might pay more attention to if they weren't in Arizona. And who knows, maybe in Salt Lake, all of a sudden we start talking about them a little bit more. But, they have great players, young players. Logan Cooley would be another good example of a young guy that is having a great season. Very well might hit that 20 goal mark here this year. And, it's kind of fun to see some of those young players and watch them have success. Certainly a group that offensively I think can sting you if you're not prepared for them. Probably have a little bit more offensive punch than you'd necessarily give them credit for based on their record this season.
True.
But Josh Doan in particular, a fun young player to watch. I'm excited to see him tonight. First time I'll get to watch a full game with him here. So, just a good little storyline to see the Alberta roots generationally taking hold a little bit more in the NHL.
Do you have do you know the Doan family? Because I don't know, is there a Kamloops connection or something?
There's a Kamloops connection. I mean, just through church and family connection. I actually have quite a few various family connections with the Doan family, just through a lot of not 6 degrees of separation, more like 1 and 2 degrees of separation. So no, the Doans are great. The first time I met the family would have been actually when I was playing in Vancouver in junior, because Don Hay was the coach.
Right.
And Don Hay, was close with the Doan family. And so as a team trip on our Western swing, we got to go stay out at the ranch for a couple of days.
That's cool.
With them, which was a lot of fun. Got to do a lot of horseback riding and riding around the country. Out in the country on the ranch. And it was a good time, and have had the fortune of interacting with them multiple times since then, and spending one camp with Shane, and talking with him and meeting him multiple other times along the way. But just a great family through and through. I think for Shane, his reputation was very well earned as far as his character and his the person that he is. And if you ever get a chance to meet the family, it's not surprising. I don't think the apple falls very far from the tree in that regard. They've done a pretty fantastic job of just developing good human beings that are just wonderful people.
And that's excellent. On top of that, the sugar would be the fact that great athletes in the family, and Josh Doan writing his own story. Cass, and Shane Doan is a legend in the Phoenix area. Legitimately, like we're talking Larry Fitzgerald, Shane Doan, hanging out, they're buddies, and everybody loves Shane Doan in and around Phoenix. They know absolutely who he is. So there's one guy, despite all of the naysayers about the Coyotes, that has been able to really, really grab everyone's attention for positive reasons. And
and that's not just from his play. That's a lot of that too, Tom, just from the amount of community work that he has done and continues to do there, where he's not one to be shy about being generous with his time and with his words and encouragement of other people. And again, he's I think then, because I know some stories, it wasn't like he was always poly positive with everybody. He would demand, I think, as a leader in that locker room, he would, demand people put effort in and demand people play well. But did so in a way that was fair and that was right. And that was ultimately, I think, made people better around him.
That's a great trait to have. And let's see if Josh Doan can continue to play well and forge his NHL career. Cass, you were excellent today on the ice at the alumni skate. I have to admit, I had to hop on there late, and every time I touched the puck, it was a grenade on my stick. You sent me on a nice breakaway pass, and I missed it.
I didn't have. I mean, granted, it wasn't an easy pickup, but just because of the angle, I had to slide it by, and it was a little different. I playing defense today. I usually don't do that, but I still got a couple toe drags in. So it's
you had a couple of nice ones. Cass, great stuff as always, my friend. Great playing hockey with you this afternoon, and I'll catch up with you on the post-game show.
Sounds good, buddy. I look forward to it.
That is Game Changers with our analyst, Matt Kassian, brought to you as always by Damon Bunting Remax Elite. If you're looking to get into the market, maybe you want to buy a house or a condo or something, check out DamonBunting.com or Damon Bunting Real Estate on his Instagram. And then also, if you're looking to sell, you can take care of that as well. Text us 780-218-9999 and get in on the nasty chat as we get you set for the Oilers and the Coyotes. A lot of people bringing up the Vegas thing. Are you up in arms, YouTube Trev, about the Mark Stone stuff? Because, I don't think anybody should be surprised that he's skating now and got the green light today and should be good to go for the playoffs. We knew that this was probably going to happen, but there's still people out there. Can you believe these guys? How dare they? They did it.
Yeah,
they're doing it.
It was only a matter of time, Tommy. I was my buddy, my roommate. He's actually my best friend, and I got him into hockey since we moved into Edmonton. He watched a little bit on and off growing up, but he was asking me. He's like, "Well, what's going on with this this whole situation with Vegas and whatnot? Why is there so much backlash on them?" And I'm like, kind of gave him the whole rundown on the situation. And then today he texts me. He's like, "Holy crap, we were literally just talking about this." But I'm like, yeah, it's really no surprise. I'm not. I see it's frustrating, but you got to understand, if the Oilers are in the same position, every team's going to do the exact same thing. You can't really fault them for doing that. It's not their fault their players got injured. And David Pagnotta, he talks about it on Hello Hockey. You can tune in tomorrow, 10 a.m. He says, he's like, no, it's legit. The NHL, it's not like they're faking it. The NHL, it's a whole process. You can't just fake these. It's a huge process, right? So it's not fake. He was actually injured with the lacerated spleen there. It's just, if you're an Oilers fan, diehard, which the Nasties are, I can see your frustration, but you can't really fault them. The Oilers would do the exact same thing.
Yeah, touche. Also, I'm glad you brought up Hello Hockey. Tomorrow, Brian Burke, as well as Jim Nill from the Dallas Stars GM over there. And then Dave Pagnotta, who is our Hello Hockey insider. Check it out, 10 a.m. to noon. Myself, Sean Bell, and YouTube Trev. All right, Trev, we're going to go into the Coyotes locker room. I think we should start with their head coach. Do you want me to say his name, or do you want to say it?
I would love it if you did it, Tommy.
Andre Tourigny spoke to the media. Obviously, a lot of it had to do with their current situation on the cusp of moving to Salt Lake City.
Check on the room and just in terms of how everybody's handling the drama of this, Coach.
Well, I think we handled it pretty good in Vancouver. I think we played hard. I think I'm really proud of the way our player respond. I think that's for us. We close the loop as much as possible, and we're all in this together. And Bill will address the team today, so that's where we stand. But I think all is good with the boys right now.
How important is it for your group, for everybody, to have Bill do that?
Oh yeah, I think it's a tough situation for everybody. You know, it's a tough situation for the league. It's a tough situation for our ownership. It's a tough situation for everybody because there's rumor everywhere. So we don't know. I assume everybody has stuff they can say, stuff they cannot say. It's the same thing for everybody. So it's not my job to comment on that. Mm-hmm. My job is just to make sure our team is ready to play in those circumstances. It's to make sure we're ready to fight for each other, and that's my job, and that's what I have to do. The rest is out of my hands.
Do you have any experience or any comparables in terms of closing the loop, in terms of focusing your team in your career, that you've been through this?
In that kind of situation, you know, my wife texted me yesterday. She said, "You coached since 30 years. We thought we saw everything. We were both wrong." So here we go. That's something new. So, but at the end of the day, my job is to coach the team. And my job is not to do politics. My job is not to look at what will happen next year. I'm not saying I'm not a human being. I am, but our job, the coach, the player, is to focus on what we can control. We will have information. The information we don't have, it's not because people don't want to give us the information. It's probably because they can't, or because there's bigger impact or whatever. And that is, I understand that part. And I'm not saying that make it very easy, but I understand that. That's part of life. There's stuff your boss cannot tell you. There's stuff my boss cannot tell me, and I'm okay with that. And the player has to be okay. That's part of life. It's same thing than a team who the week before the trade deadline. You think the GM come in the room and, hey, we're trying to get those 3 guys, and we don't know who will be traded for those guys. That's not the way it happens. So that's in life. You have to do your job, and that's what we will try to do tonight. And as best as we can.
He doesn't tell you that before the trading deadline?
He communicates with me, but not necessarily with the players. So there's always stuff like that, you know. But it's all. We have a great group. We love each other. We like to be each other. The player fought extremely hard for us, for our organization last game. We're proud of them. So we know we have a really good opponent who play really well. They're top team in the league for a reason. So for us, we have plenty of to focus on with those guys.
When you spoke of Bill speaking to the team, is that something he'll do kind of this morning, or just so we kind of have
He will do it today.
He'll do it today.
It's a matter of timing, the flight and everything. But he's been in communication with us on what's going on and stuff. It's just a matter of. There's a lot of moving part, and there's a lot of things I don't know. I don't know. I do not know, and do I want to know? No, don't need to know now. You know, it's not my job. That's Billy will address those situations, the leadership of the team, and you know, you need to understand Billy's situation as well. He report to I don't know who. I just don't know. So. That's not my business. That's not my job.
Some hard afternoon naps today to get in.
Oh, for who? For me?
After a meeting like that, a lot of guys have a lot of stuff in their head.
That's that's part of it. But I think our guys react really well in Van. You know, that was the same thing in Van. It broke in the morning of the game, and I think the guys react really well, and they fought for each other, and that's what we want from our guys. That's what my job is. I try to answer the question you ask me as well as I can, but at the same time, I don't really know what to tell you guys. It's out of my hands. It's out of my control. There's nothing I can do. My job is to coach the team, and my job is to make sure the players are ready. And I try to keep the human side as close as possible because that's the most important thing. But at the same time, we have business to conduct. We have a game tonight, and we play against a fantastic team.
So any lineup changes you're considering?
No, I think we'll be fine. We have a little bit of bug, but I didn't talk to Z after the morning skate. But everybody was on the ice, so I assume we'll be fine.
Matias Macelli, what does he mean to this team?
It means a lot. He's a really good player. He has a great vision. He's a great asset for us, and he's playing good both sides of the puck. You know, he's underrated defensively, and he can create possession. He create plays. A great playmaker. He's a really good player.
All right, there's Andre Tournier, head coach of the Arizona Coyotes, and they're called the Coyotes today. We'll see in a couple of weeks what they may be named, as we expect them to be moved to Salt Lake City. You heard him talking about their Bill Armstrong, team's GM, was going to address the team today. And then he also kind of let it slip. He's like, I don't even know who Bill answers to. So that's in itself telling, I would think, because if this team is in a time of transition, then clearly there's a new boss in charge, a new president will be coming in, a new owner, obviously. But if the team wasn't going anywhere, the head coach will be saying, well, he would talk to Javier Gutierrez, who is the president of the team, and at least going into tonight is listed as the president of the team. And then you've got Alex Morello, who on the game notes is listed as the majority owner, chairman, and governor of the Arizona Coyotes as of right now. All right, keep those texts coming in, 780-218-9999. I've got a bunch of texts that I want to get to, but before I do that, I need to mention that portions of this hour are brought to you by the good folks over at 100.3 The Bear, Edmonton's best rock. Catch Dusty on the morning show with Yuke and McCord weekdays, and then tune into Jess Jackson on your drive home from work every weekday afternoon. 100.3 The Bear, Edmonton's best rock. All right, couple of texts here before we go back inside the Coyotes locker room. This one from Todd in Bonnyville says, hey, Skinner, 35 wins, only Georgiev, 38, with 5 more games played, tied with Hellebuck and Bobrovsky, Saros, and Shesterkin, one behind. Only Shesterkin has played less games, almost Vezina quality with Ekholm, our Viking warrior. Thor with his golden hammer hits another clapper from the faceoff dot. Not quite Norris, but mostly Stanley Cup champions have those quality of players. They have put together a good season. Can they put together a great playoff run? Those 16 wins are the most important now. The 16 streak was required, so they could have this opportunity. That comes in from Todd in Bonnyville. Then Displaced Yukoner says, anyone else feel like Vegas is laughing at the entire league right now? I don't know. Maybe, but they massaged it to work in their favor. No questions asked there, Displaced Yukoner. And then John from the Fort says, Tommy, I want to know how a lacerated spleen happens. I mean, I had a lacerated finger just today, nicked it with the bread knife, got a Band-Aid on it now. John from the Fort, lacerated spleen is that's a scary injury. And as Gary Lawless put it the other day when he joined us for the Rink Report, he said, it's not like the Golden Knights are going around cutting their own players' organs. So that's not really one that you want to laugh and joke too much about. And he was sincerely hurt, but yeah, conveniently ready to go the week before playoffs start. Mark Stone is captain of the Vegas Golden Knights, who are looking to clinch a playoff spot. Looking at the standings heading into action today, they are the only team in the Western Conference currently holding on to a playoff spot that do not have an X by their name. They have not clinched. They've lost their last 3 games. They are 3 points up on St. Louis. The Blues have 3 games remaining. The Golden Knights have 4 games remaining. So their chances are still pretty good. And as of today, they would get the Dallas Stars if the playoffs were to start today. And then those wondering when the playoffs will start for the Edmonton Oilers, it sounds like, and this was from people at the rink within the organization, Monday is the day that they anticipate the Oilers' first game of the playoffs. There's something to do with the Eastern Conference, time changes, competitive advantages that would lead it to being pushed back to Monday, but they're preparing for Monday. If that changes or something new pops up, I'll ask around tonight in the press box and hopefully get more answers as to which day the playoffs start for the Edmonton Oilers. But sounds like right now it will be on Monday. All right, let's get to starting lineups, and then we'll go into the Coyotes locker room one last time. For the Oilers, not anticipating any changes outside of Derek Ryan coming back in for the injured Sam Carrick and Troy Stetcher for the nicked up Cody Ceci. Draisaitl between Nugent Hopkins and Hyman. Henrique between Kane and Fogle. McLeod centering Holloway and Perry. Ryan with Janmark and Brown. On defense, Ekholm Bouchard. Nurse with Stetcher. Kulak with Desharnais. McDavid probably not playing day-to-day. Lower body. Ceci day-to-day. Carrick day-to-day. As for the Coyotes, Alex Kerfoot between Clayton Keller and Nick Schmaltz. Logan Cooley between Lawson Krause and Dylan Gunther, the former Oil King. Jack McBain with Mason Michelli and Josh Doan. And then Jan Yannick with Liam O'Brien and Michael Carconi. JJ Moser paired up with Sean Dursey. Juuso Valimaki with Michael Kesselring. And then Vladislav Kolyachonok with Josh Brown. Expected to be out tonight. Nick Bjugstad day-to-day. Barrett Hayton day-to-day. Lower body day-to-day there. Travis Dermott day-to-day, upper body. And so you heard Tourigny talking about a bug that's been going around the Coyotes as well. All right. One more time, inside the Coyotes locker room, on the cusp of being moved to Salt Lake City. Here are Clayton Keller and Lawson Krause.
What it's like in that room. Can you speak to that for us?
Yeah, I think we showed a lot of resiliency last game. Obviously there was a lot going on, and I thought we did a great job of just keeping the noise out of the room and focusing on the last 4 games and going day by day.
Andre said to me the other day that he can identify the start of the slide that you guys ran because it was the day that the Salt Lake story first broke, and he asked you guys to find your way out of it mentally this time. Is that true? Did you sense that in the room then?
Yeah, it was definitely in our heads, you can say it's not a distraction sometimes, but obviously, just buddies, family, people are always texting, keep, putting it in your head. So, Bear said, we have, another opportunity to kind of deal with the same thing and, learn from our, past mistakes.
How important is it that you'll hear from your general manager today?
Yeah, for sure. I think, we've just tried to focus on, hockey and, since I've played in Arizona, there's always been a lot of rumors and stuff like that. So I think, we've tried to do as best we can to, just focus on hockey.
For a lot of people, it's, the hockey is kind of the thing that gets the focus, but there's so much that is behind the scenes, from families, workers in the organization, all that. Like this is big behind the scenes. I imagine you guys feel some of the weight of that too. Yeah,
for sure, definitely. Like I said, throughout this whole time there hasn't been a ton of discussion on what's going on, I guess. So we've just kind of taken it day by day. We've heard different things here and there, and none of them are really true. So we just kind of learned from that, and like I said, just take it day by day.
You've been through this in Arizona a few times. Maybe not exactly this, but a version of this during your career. You must have this pop up.
Yeah, definitely. And like I've said, I think myself, tried to help the other guys and the guys that have been here a while. Lawson Krause, Nick Schmaltz. We've whether it's different owners or moving from Glendale to Tempe or things like that. So. I think you just tried to, focus on the hockey, and, I still have an amazing job and love what I do, so I'm thankful for that.
So I'll just ask Clayton, I'll ask you, can you just get us inside the room and what it's like in there and how you guys are managing this?
Yeah, we're blocking everything out. I think last game was a great example of that. Obviously, we have 3 big games remaining for our group. A lot of guys are up for contracts, a lot to play for. So, team game, when the team does better, everyone does better. So that's what we're focused on.
When Salt Lake first popped up, Andre was saying just the other day that he knew it was in the room. Yeah. And that was the beginning of that slide. Is he right?
We saw it everywhere, just like everyone. But, we don't know anything more than what everyone else is seeing. So, we're just worried about tonight, controlling what we can control, and that's all we can think about.
Information is everything. How important is it to hear from your general manager today?
Yeah, it's going to be important, obviously. Who knows what he's going to say, but it'll be an important talk for sure.
Do you anticipate a lot of questions from the group to Bill this afternoon?
I mean, I think at this time, that meeting's coming so close to the game, and we have a job to do as players. So I'm sure there will be some follow-up questions a little later on. But like I said tonight, we got our mindset on Edmonton and what we have to do to win.
How, hockey players are pretty good mentally. They're good at blocking things out and
playing the game,
playing all those things. This is a big one to come at 4 p.m. or something. How difficult a chore will it be to keep this out of your brain when they're dropping a puck 3 hours later?
Yeah, I mean, we've obviously, like I said, Vancouver was a good test to that, and we just got to approach it the same way. We have a job to do on the ice, and that's what we're focused about.
All right, that was Lawson Krause, and before him was Clayton Keller talking about the current situation, plight of the Coyotes. They will be addressed by, or were, GM Bill Armstrong, given an update on their current situation, likely on the move to Salt Lake City. Very interesting and fast developing story, and all hell broke loose on Wednesday. So we'll see how this plays out. The Coyotes, despite all this, have won 3 of their last 4, got the win in Vancouver on Wednesday night, and the Oilers, meanwhile, have rattled off 7 straight wins versus Arizona, looking to make it 8 in a row tonight. All right, let's go. Do we have Nugent Hopkins, Trev?
Yes, we do, Tommy.
He's a birthday boy, turning 31 today. Let's hear from Ryan Nugent Hopkins.
Kind of funny, about a week and a half ago, the sky was falling because we lost 5-0 to Dallas, and then you guys roll off 3 pretty good wins. I guess it just proves that this team knows how to play and knows how consistent they can be.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's why it's disappointing when you have a game like that, because we know what we're capable of and the way that we can play. So when you have a stinker like that, like we did against Dallas, it's tough. But I think it's about it's a long season. I mean, things like that happen, and the way that you respond is the important part. And I think since then we've done a pretty good job. And obviously the other night was a really good full 60 for us, and we want to keep building on that.
5 games in 7 days to finish it off. Like, you guys are making up all your games in hand here right at the end, and there are still goals to play for in the standings. So what's the balance between energy and going for as many points as possible?
Yeah, I mean, you don't hold anything back. You want to push as much as you can. I don't know why we're playing 7 and 5 to finish, but I mean, I guess that's the way it worked out for us this year for some reason. But it's definitely a lot right before going into the playoffs. But I mean, at this point, you've played 75, 76 games, so I mean, you're in good shape and can handle it for sure. But no, I mean, it's not. You don't want to hold anything back. We're still looking to improve our game and push for points here.
There haven't been too many times in the past where you have been on the power play without Connor. What was it like being on a power play without him there?
Yeah, obviously, he's makes a big impact 5-on-5 and power play. On the power play, he creates so many plays that it's definitely a little different of a look. Probably kind of similar to 5-on-5. You simplify it a little bit, but I mean, the rest of us have played so much together in the past that the chemistry's still there, and the ability to be able to score is still there. So it definitely changes things. Bringing the puck into the zone, he's probably the best in the league at that, with his speed, pushing guys back, and then, like I said, just creating stuff in zone. So, I mean, we can be patient with it, but trust that we can get the job done still.
Ryan, a little surreal for you, when you broke in all those years ago, and we know it's your birthday today, but just you guys used to have like the youngest team in the league almost every year. Now you have the most 30-year-old players in the entire National Hockey League on your team. Like, it's quite a different thing. Is it you sort of look back and go, wow, we're at a different place with our club and the team and all that kind of dynamic.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, how much it's changed is pretty crazy. I mean, I know I've been here a long time, so there's going to be changes. But like you said, from my first few years, we were always the young team in the league, and now that's changed. Where I think are we the average age oldest now? Yeah, so definitely a big change. But I mean, we have a lot of guys who know how to get the job done and know what it takes to win, and I think that's so important at the stage that we're at right now.
Can you speak to what Corey Perry has brought, because there's a very different dynamic that he's, I think, helped bring you guys.
Yeah, I mean, he knows how to win. He knows how to play those tough games. I mean, he's been to the final multiple times. I mean, to be able to do that, obviously you're doing something right. And his competitiveness has been something that's I think been great for our group. He wants to win, but he wants to do it the right way. He wants to play the right way every single night, and he wants everybody to be on that train. So he's been really good for us. He talks when he has to in the room, but I think just the way that he carries himself and goes out there and plays every night is huge for some of us to look up to.
All right, that was Old Man Nuge celebrating his 31st birthday today. And the Oilers on average are the oldest team in the league. And I'm sure that'll change back to somewhere in the middle of the pack by next season when some of the older guys move on. But crazy how it's all changed in Nugent Hopkins' time as a member of the Oilers. 14 years in the organization, 13 years in the organization. In 2011 is when he was drafted by the franchise, and 31 years of age. Also today, my mom's birthday. So happy birthday, Eva G. Celebrating it as well with Ryan Nugent Hopkins. So that'll do it for the Oil Stream pregame show here on Edmonton Sports Talk. A big happy birthday to those celebrating. Ryan Nugent Hopkins, my mom included. Maybe it's a good day in oil country. I like their chances, looking to make it 8 straight wins versus the Coyotes. And we'll see what happens to these Coyotes in the coming days. Big thank you to everyone who listened on iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and our Edmonton Sports Talk audio stream. And then to those who watched on our EST YouTube channel, big thumbs up. Thank you to everybody who did so. We appreciate you. For Joaquin Gage, Matt Kassian, and YouTube Trev, I'm Tom Gazzola saying enjoy the Oilers versus the Coyotes. Ciao for now. Catch you on the postgame show.